Estrogens are the ones who stop us from growing. Natural women's estrogen stops boys and girls to grow. When the natural women's estrogen reach a certain concentration in our body. What I mean by natural women's estrogen, or the real estrogen for women, are they have to have, I'm talking about the ones who have the exact formula of these three molecules, westrone, westradiol, and westriol. The reason why they're named by on, di, and tri is because they have, like, westrone has only one hydroxyl molecule here. Westradiol has two hydroxyl molecules, one here and one here, attached to their carbon rings, and westriol has three hydroxyl molecule attached to its carbon rings, one here, and one here. Okay, and for them to be the exact natural women's, for them to be the actual natural women's estrogen, they have to have this exact molecular structure. And I'll show you how the estrogens stops us from growing for boys and girls. Is by the way they do it is by solidifying the growth plates, especially the growth plates of long bones. But there are some growth plates also in other types of bones with a different form, not just long bones. For example, this is a long bone. This is the femur. Okay, and the growth plates are right here. Okay, those are the growth plates, and the growth plates are made up of chondrocytes or cartilage. Inside the cartilage that makes up the material for the cartilage the cells are named chondrocytes. Okay, the chondrocytes are in these two areas, the green areas that I've drawn. Okay. And to put them in more of a perspective, okay, this is a close-up of the cartilage, the epiphyseal plaques. Okay, they're named epiphyseals because they're almost at the ends of the long bones. Okay, now there are some growth plates in in flat bones or losange bones, such as the hip bones, or the flat bones of our skull and other parts of the body. The fingers, I would consider the fingers as long bones, or like for the phalange, the phalange of our hands and feet. They're considered long bones, but all these bones have a growth plates. Okay, and but what the estrogen do, they solidify specifically the growth plates of our very long bones, which is the two bones of each of our legs, the tibulae and the femur, and the ulna, the radial, and the humerus. That's right here. Okay, those are the long bones that are being completely solidified by estrogen, namely 17-alpha estrogen. There are two types of estradiol. There's like 17-beta estradiol, which is the feminizing hormone, and there's the 17-alpha estradiol, which is the Chinese, the Westerners names call that estrogen a masculinizing estrogen. And now I have read about close to 300 books and scientific experiment papers on the biology of the human body. And here I have retrieved, I prefer to read my sources and on paper compared to computer screen. I prefer to read it on paper. But unfortunately, I only got about, like, I would say about 50 books in paper. Okay, this is where I get most of my information, and also by my own observation of people that are surrounding me, and also my own life's experience, and also I do observe other people are around me, the way they eat, and I could tell their composition of their hormonal sex hormone constitution in their body, or composition in their body. So I go also by my own observation. Unfortunately, my little laboratory is very small, so, but it's growing. Okay, so I have retrieved, and these are scientific paper that, and I have like others, right, I have others on my library, or my bookshelves. Okay, now I have retrieved 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and probably and 3 others, but like I have them here. Okay. Now the here I have drawn the epiphyseal plaques. Okay, those are the growth plates. Okay, and inside the epiphyseal growth plates, okay, which is this. Okay, this is the spongial bone. The cortex is surrounding. It's like a shell. The cortex is the shell of the bone, and here you still have a little bit of spongial bones. And here is the cavity, the central bone cavity, and here you have the epiphyseal plates. And here, all this is made of cartilage, which I have drawn them in green, and turquoise. I have drawn them in turquoise. Okay, and here is the resting site, and all the chondrocytes are they're kind of like source chondrocyte, meaning they're like source cells or stem cells, or like, so I would call them source cells because they're not exactly chondrocyte. They will turn themselves into chondrocyte. And there's 3 layers: the resting zone, the multiplication zone, and the hypertrophic zone. The hypertrophic zone means that each cell, chondrocyte cells, are all stacked like paper or hamburgers, and they're about like 6 to 10 times thicker than the thin chondrocytes in the proliferative zone. The proliferative zone are the area where all the chondrocytes do mitosis, meaning they replicate. They duplicate themselves, they triplicate themselves, and they quintuplate themselves right up to by tenfold. Okay, and here's the resting place. These are the stem cells, chondrocytes. Okay, the source cells. Okay, they become chondrocytes further down. Okay, so the at the bottom of this video, in the description of my video, which is at the bottom of the video, you just click at the little arrow. I have placed all my scientific source. I have placed scientific source for you to read, and so it will support what I'm saying right now. There are more other experimental paper out there. I would say about like over 100 that specify that which estrogen is actually doing the solidifying of the growth plates or the long bones. When we say solidifying the long bones, meaning all the growth plates of all the long bones are getting solidified. They get turned from cartilage to bone matter, which it stops our linear, our vertical growth. Okay, and the drawing that I made here, okay, is like an overestimation of the drawing, so we could see, okay, the growth plates here, and same thing with here. Okay. Now I'll show you. Now the experimentation paper that I've retrieved and have placed on the description of my video is the first one is estrogen receptor specificity in the regulation of the skeleton in female mice. Now this is female mice. I would consider you read it, but bear in mind estrogen do the contrary. Estrogen do not solidify the growth plates of the mice themselves. But compared to humans, estrogen will solidify at a certain concentration. Will solidify the growth plates of humans. Okay, so I have this one. Okay. Now this one, estrogen receptors alpha and beta are differentially expressed in developing human bones. Okay, and I have this scientific paper that I retrieved for this video. Okay, and here is a review. Same author of two of the scientific paper, experimental paper that I have shown. This is a review of the endocrine regulation of the growth plates. Okay, so okay, this video is part of the video books called How to Change Sex for both sex, actually. Okay, female to male. Male to female. Okay, and so this video is a chapter of that video book. Okay, that I'm doing right now. Okay, now so I'll show you their example. Okay. Okay, now where is it? Okay, here's an example of their drawing. Okay, see, these researchers have done the same thing as me. As it probably is that the growth plates are probably that same size. So probably I am right to draw that, but like I would suspect it a little bit thinner. Okay, so the gray area is the growth plates. And here's the growth plates. This is the resting place here, the resting zone. This is the high proliferated zone, and this is the hypertrophic zone. The hypertrophic zone is all the chondrocytes are stacked together. Okay, the proliferating zone, they're thinner, but they're replicating a lot. Okay. And they're starting to stack each other up. When they go down into when they become the hypertrophic zone, they stop replicating, and at the same time, but each cell grows in thickness and size and thickness about 6 to 10 times from compared to the chondrocyte in the high proliferated zone. Okay. Now, when they arrive at the hypertrophic zone, when the cells become the hypertrophic zone, at the bottom, they send out small molecule to call epidermal blood vessel growth factors, or epidermal growth factors, or some of the growth factors. I think they're vascular growth factors. They call in the vascular growth factors. The vascular growth factors comes in and they build up blood vessels. At the same time, the same dying cells, the same dying chondrocytes, will also send out a messaging molecule to tell the osteoblasts and the osteoclasts to advance into their dying space to produce the bone matter. Okay, so the molecules that build up the bone structure, our bone matter, are the osteoblasts, which the osteoblast builds up the bone matter, and the osteoclast dissolves them. Okay, so both of these molecules are needed to build our bone structure. Okay, so eventually when a chondrocyte becomes hypertroph, like enlarges, it stops replicating, and eventually it will produce the signals, messenger molecules to call in the vascular growth factors to build up blood vessels, at the same time to call in messenger molecules to call in osteoblasts and osteoclasts. Okay, so I'll just show you a little bit. Okay, now let's see. Okay, now actually what I'm trying to say about this is a long bone. Okay, so the epiphyseal plates would be about that thin. This is what I'm assuming. Okay, so and the cells, the bone matter grows this way. In the sense, this moves upward, the plates moves upward because all the newly formed bone matter that are produced are growing this way. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it. So this is the rationale. Okay, now there are two the receptors. There are two receptors, estrogen receptors. Okay, estrogen receptors. There's beta and there's alpha. Okay. Beta and alpha, and it's actually the alpha that's solidifying, that tells the hypertrophic cells to produce messenger molecules. Molecules to call blood vessels and osteoblast and company. Okay, there's three types of cellular osteocytes. Okay, there's three types of cells that are grouped in our bone structure, which is the blasts, the class, and the osteocytes. The osteocytes are small molecules that's embedded into our or bone matter, which is a calcium phosphate structure, salt or structure. Okay, so osteoclast dissolve our bones, because when the structure of our bone, the matter of our bone is damaged, the osteoclast dissolves the damaged bone, and then the osteoblast reforms the bone. Okay, so now as for the growth plates, okay. Now the resting zone. Okay, this is the resting zone. The resting zone is like you have like small molecules, okay, which are the sourcial molecules for chondrocyte. Chondrocyte are cells that build up the cartilage. Okay, so these in turn becomes proliferating small chondrocytes. What I mean by proliferating is that they spread, they double, okay? Okay, they become two cells, okay, and then two sister cells, okay? Eventually they become like this, and they stack up further down, okay? And after a time, they stop replicating. What they're doing is that they become bigger than this, okay? And they're stacked up. And the ones at the bottom, eventually, they produce signals, which are small little molecules that calls in the blood vessels, the blood vessels growth cells, and the osteoblast cells. Okay, so and the hypertrophic chondrocyte dies, but they get replaced by osteocytes and osteoblasts and osteoclasts, and then bone matter surrounding it. Okay, so this is how, and eventually the bone matters gets laid out until right up at the end of the resting site. Some people, right up to the end of their life, which is like maybe 80, might have a small thin cartilage at the end there, but that cartilage doesn't do anything, okay? It doesn't grow. So, and there are like, so in this scientific paper, okay, okay, now let's see. Now, they're specifying that the ones that influence our growth are the growth hormones and the insulin-like growth factors, which there are several types of insulin-like growth factors. There are like, this is IGF-1. This is the one that makes us grow. There are like 2, 4, 6, okay, and glucocorticoid, which is like I think it's aldosterone. Aldosterone is a glucocorticoid that influence our growth. Estrogen, thyroid hormones, estrogen, androgen, and vitamin D and leptin. Okay, I'll explain these another time, but right now it's estrogen. Okay. For the beta estrogen, there's like 1, 2, and 4. I think there's like different types of beta. Okay, and alpha, I'm not too sure. Okay, but it's actually D alpha. It's actually D17 alpha estradiol that stopped us from growing. Okay, but those are receptors. Okay, estrogen receptors beta and alpha, and there's like 17 alpha estradiol, and there's like 17 beta estradiol, and these will link to both of them, but the 17 alpha will link almost 100% to the 100% to the alpha receptors, and the beta will link up to 100% to the beta receptors, okay? Depending on which type, 1, 2, 4, and same thing here, okay? The beta very rarely will link up to the alpha receptors. If it does, it doesn't do anything, okay? Now, what does it do? When an hormone, when an estrogen, or any other types of hormone, okay. I'll be back. I'm gonna get something. Okay. This is an estrogen molecule, or estrogen. It could be an estrogen, or a testosterone, androgen, or a plant molecule. Okay. Now, this could be one of these three groups of molecules, okay? When they link up to when they link up to an enzyme is a protein molecule which has like between 100 bases to about maybe 1,000 bases, okay? The beta receptor is a protein molecule which has 485 bases. Not bases, I made a mistake. Amino acids. Okay. For 485 amino acids. Okay. And the alpha has 595 amino acids. Okay. So this is for an example. Now, when the molecule links to this to the protein molecule, when a steroid or a plant lignan or isoflavone links up to to a protein molecule, this protein will change. So it will change form. Okay, you could see one of these molecules is linked up and it changed. Okay, now this is for estrogen, and for androgen, this could be it. And for the plant molecule, okay, now you notice, okay, this is pointier, this has two prongs, and this here has, is kind of like bulging, okay? So this means this has like maybe 0.001% that will activate the gene, okay? This one has maybe 80% to 100% to activate the gene, okay? And this one has maybe 50% to activate the gene. Okay, so this is the way hormones, vitamins are called ligand when they are named ligand when they attach themselves to a protein molecule. A protein molecule usually has maybe 10 amino acids linked to each other, to maybe 1,000 amino acids to link each other. That produces, and each protein molecules have it different forms. Those are examples. Okay, they all have different forms, and they link to the protein, to another protein that's attached to the gene, to the DNA strand, the DNA strand. Okay, so they attach. Both the double helix become separate, and then the ligand receptors link to the response protein that's on the DNA strand, and after that it produces RNA, and then RNA produce other proteins, which these proteins do other stuff. Okay, it either grows us, stops us from growing, for example. Okay. Now I have at the bottom. I've shown you the scientific paper that's specified. There's a lot more. I've read a lot more, and from there, this one is in French. 197, page 197. Okay, I'll read it in French. I don't have time to correct it. À l'âge adulte, les stéroïdes sexuels contribuent au remaniement osseux en ralentissant la résorption de l'ancien tissu osseux et favorisant le dépôt de nouveaux tissus. Les œstrogènes ralentissent la résorption par l'intermédiaire de... Okay, no, I read the wrong part. Okay. Les œstrogènes provoquent chez la femme des modifications osseuses typiques telles que l'élargissement du bassin. Ce sont aussi les stéroïdes sexuels, en particulier les œstrogènes chez les deux sexes, qui arrêtent la croissance des plaques épiphysaires et dont la croissance en longueur des os. Okay. Les œstrogènes ralentissent la résorption par l'intermédiaire de divers mécanismes, entre autres en stimulant l'apoptose, mort cellulaire programmée des ostéoclastes. So estrogen will provoke the death of osteoclasts. Comme nous le verrons bientôt, la parathormone, la calcitriol, forme active de la vitamine D, et la calcitonine sont des hormones qui peuvent avoir une incidence sur le remaniement osseux. Okay, but that's another story. The calcitriol, which is the active form of vitamin D, calcitonin, which is a bone molecules for kids. We do have it, but when we pass puberty, it's not important anymore. It's the sexual hormone. But if we didn't have sex hormone, the calcitonin will become important. Okay. So now. So I showed you all this. Okay. Okay, now, this is I'll draw a little bit bigger. Okay, this is the epiphyseal plate here, okay. This is the resting zone. This is the proliferating zone, and this is the hypertrophic zone. Okay, hypertrophic zone. Okay, now these scientists here, estrogen, different receptor mice, this one here. Okay, this is one of the many experiments that they've done. These scientists have found out, and other scientists have found out, that all the receptors, the alpha receptors and the beta receptors, are all throughout throughout all these three zones. Okay, these three layers. Okay, and but observing animals and humans, is that they found out that it's the alpha receptors that promotes a solidifying the solidity of the growth plates. Okay, by doing what it does, it's the estrogen that links up, which is namely the 17 alpha estradiol, will link up to its receptors, estrogen receptor alpha, in the hypertrophic zone, and that hormone, that estrogen, will tell the cell to call in the cells of the blood vessels, and also the bone cells, okay, which is the osteoblasts, the osteocytes, and the osteoclasts, okay, to transform this. And in the but what makes us grow faster, it's not I don't think, according to what I've read, it's not the 17 alpha estradiol, it's the 17 beta estradiol. The 17 beta estradiol will tell the cells in the resting zone to change itself rapidly into the proliferating cells. Okay. Now there are two reasons why we stop growing. The first reason is a high number of hormones tells the hypertrophic cells, chondrocytes, to die and to call in bone matter cells. Okay. The other reason is that when the cells multiply very rapidly, eventually they will stop multiplying, because we have these cells have a set number of times they could multiply. Let's say between 100 to 1,000 times. Okay. Now the reason why we have different heights in these two reasons is when we have a high number of 17 beta estradiol that tells a lot of the cells to become proliferating cells. Okay. And if it's too fast, the hypertrophic zone will not be able to, the cells in the hypertrophic zone will not be able to grow in size, hypertrophic, okay, to grow in size. Meaning the cells in there will stay relatively medium size, so you won't grow. That is if you have a lot of 17 beta estradiol. If you have a lot of 17 alpha estradiol, your hypertrophic bones, chondrocytes will die off rapidly, and so on and so on. Eventually, your growth plates will become thinner and thinner and thinner. Okay, so for girls who want to become men, this is the trick. You will have to somehow block off the estrogen receptor alpha or block off the 17 alpha receptors. 17 alpha estradiol, sorry. Now, the scientists haven't specified that, okay? But I suspect that about 99% of the time, testosterone gets changed by the aromatase enzyme into 17 alpha estradiol. So in a sense, testosterone will a high number of testosterone in your bloodstream will stop you from growing, because a lot of them will get changed into 17 alpha estradiol. 17 for girls produce mostly about 90% of their estradiol are 17 beta estradiol. 17 beta estradiol will make you grow. It will not it will indirectly solidify your growth plates, but it will make you grow. You will become taller than supposedly what your supposed genes will say, okay? As a matter of fact, I would say only 20% of the genes tells us how tall we're going to be. Only 20% of the time, or even 20%. The rest, 80% is your hormonal constitution, your steroid, your sex hormone constitution, and also what you eat, okay? So basically, so the alpha, 17 alpha estradiol, or the estrogen receptor alpha are the ones who will stop you from growing. 17 estrogen receptors beta, it's only indirectly, because that receptor will tell the resting cells to become proliferating. If they become proliferating chondrocyte too early, of course the girl will grow a lot, but her growth period will stop eventually sooner than most people, okay? But so you'll have to, for girls who want to become men, or for trans boys, okay, you'll have to tackle the estrogen for this, okay. In other videos, I'll explain how you could do that. For now, I'm just showing you the anatomy of the bone and and also the biological action, the biological reaction of the inside the bone. So for now, I think I overview everything. Okay, like I said, okay. One thing I'd like to make sure that you understand, okay, what I mean by, okay, a cell's mitosis. Mitosis is replication, okay, you have this here, and inside, okay, the DNA, the nuclear membrane disappears during replication, okay. Mitosis is replication, okay. Now this is DNA, okay, produce the filament that goes there, and then two cells, okay. This is how replication works, okay. So and each of our cells, depending what cells, but the ones on the growth plates, they have a set number of replication they could do, between 100 to 1,000. I'm just telling you that arbitrary, okay. So between 100 to 1,000, okay. So eventually, the estrogen receptor beta works on that, okay. So if you have a lot of estrogen, a lot of 17 beta estradiol, okay, in your blood, that means the cells in the resting zone become the proliferating chondrocyte, and then they proliferate a lot faster, but the molecules stay small, okay, but you will grow, okay, compared to the alpha 17 alpha estradiol, okay. It will tell the large chondrocyte, when you have a lot of them, it will when you have a certain amount of them, yeah, that's one thing I like to, it will tell the cell to die off at the same time to call in bone cells, which the bone cells and also the blood vessel cells, which the bone cells are the osteocytes, the osteoblasts, and the osteoclasts, okay? And also the blood vessels, you have the blood vessel cells that will come in also, okay? So, now the rationale, because concentration, different, 17 beta estradiol at a high concentration will make you stop growing sooner, but a high concentration of 17 alpha 17 alpha estradiol will stop you very soon growing, okay? Okay, so. Okay, now the cells, okay, for it, now here's an example, okay, the biggest example I can show you, it doesn't, my crayon is changing, okay, so this is a cell, okay, this is the nucleus, okay, and these are the DNA, and here you have the receptors, okay. You have all sorts of receptors, okay? You have like glucocorticoid receptors, you have androgens receptors, and you have estrogen receptors, okay? And the hormones, the estrogen, 17 alpha estrogen, goes in, and then they go into the, they go into the nucleus, okay? Now, if you only have one that goes in the nucleus, that's an example I'm giving you. If you only have one, and it links to a receptors and it goes to the gene, and it tells the gene to produce a small molecule that goes out, and that will, and also to link up to the gene that tells the cells to die off, okay? But if only one of them links up to the gene, and one of them links up to, there's two places to go, okay? So if you only have one, which one is going to go in, okay? You can't just, probably they will go there mostly to the apoptose gene, but it will produce, there's only one, and it will produce only one molecule. That one molecule will go there, but it's not enough, okay? If you have, let's say, 1,000 17 alpha estradiol, okay? If you have 1,000 that goes in, now you have a lot. There's only once, maybe it'll take the gene for estradiol alpha to activate the dying off gene. But first, they'll have, before the chondrocyte, okay, before the chondrocyte dies off, it has to send several molecules. So there's like 1,000 for, let's say there's like 900 85 17 alpha estradiol, that links up in multiple times that gene. So that gene produces a lot of molecules that goes out. So you have like maybe 500 of these molecules. That makes a difference. So this is why different concentration, a low concentration of 17 beta estradiol will make you grow slower, but you'll grow for a long time. And bear in mind, there's other growth hormones that come in. There's like there's calcitrol, which is vitamin D, the active form. There's the growth hormones, plus the insulin-like growth hormones. Insulin-like growth, GIH1, that's different. Those will make you, you only need just a bit of 17 beta. The 17 beta estradiol will promote the liberation of growth hormones and IGH, growth factors, sorry. Insulin-like growth factors, IGF, sorry about that. So it's just to make sure that IGF-1, okay? So with this, just a little bit, just like a very good amount of 17 beta. But if you have a lot of them, the 17 beta will tell too much of the resting cells to become proliferating cells. At the same time, it will tell the proliferating cells to replicate rapidly. But all the rapid cells will be a little bit smaller than normal. But at the same time, a lot of them will become hypertrophic. And eventually when they become too big, they die off and they call in bone cells to come in to replace the cartilage, okay? So, and these hormones don't have time, or the leptin, don't have time for you, they don't have time to make you grow. So this is what's happening, okay? So I'll continue this in other videos.